Hey, shout out to everybody in the chat. I got 40 people waiting for the news. Shout out to everybody. Thank you for being here. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Now, before I get started, right? Shout out to everybody. We're going to do a little intro, give the people some time to get in here. But I wanted to give the biggest trigger warning about this case because it is unbelievable. Unbelievable in terms of just the inhumane situation that it's happening that happened in this funeral home, but also like this has been an ongoing issue in the state of Colorado in terms of regulations for funeral homes, and in general it makes you wonder, what rights do people have after they die, if anything? Okay, so let's get this intro going. I'm going to be greeting everybody here. Once we get back, make sure you hit that like button. And I'll see you guys here pretty shortly. Let's go right now. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you guys for being here. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Okay, do not hate your girl. All right. Please don't hate me. I still got my Christmas cups. I refuse to let them go. And I got the little Christmas straw. Yes, I do. Drinking my iced coffee, doing my thing, which is what I do. Thank you so much. Don't judge me. Judge your mother. That's what you need to do. Shout out to everybody. Thank you for being here. Oh my gosh. Let me shout out everybody. Tinkle Tits has been a member for 12 months? A whole year, Tinkle Tits? Oh my God. I love you so much, Tinkle. And I hope Sadie's doing well. Thank you for being a member. And Grandma Sherry's been a member for 10. Yes, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Grandma. Thank you for hitting the like button. Let me shout out all the beautiful, wonderful members in the house. Sarah Lynn, Pika, Chico. Hey, Miss Pet, how you doing, love? Pebbles, thank you for being here. Sarah Lynn, thank you. The only on G Tiki, thank you for being here. Oh my goodness, Pika, Bunny, everybody, iCat, Sarah, thank you, Jane. Bokumaru, you guys know I like to shout out my members before we get the ground running. I'll put a timestamp if you don't want to hear me yelling. Layla, beautiful messy ball, thank you. Heavenly Blue, welcome. Thank you for being here. Mountain Princess, Chico's in the house. Thank you, Chico. Kate, their family have rights. Kate, we go talk about that because that has been an ongoing debate in terms of what happens when you die, right? Like, who's got rights over you? Do people lose rights after they die? I mean, this is new to me, and it's a topic that I've been exploring since like last year. Cat Liz, Erica, Cheeks, thank you for being here. Bokumato Nebulous, thank you, thank you, thank you. Who else do I see in the house? Ooh, let me scan. April, this story, it's very disturbing. Aaron, thank you for being here. Margot, thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody. Let me see who else I see that I haven't greeted yet of my beautiful, wonderful members. Hey, Marie. Hey, there, everybody. Erica, thank you. Who else? All right. And Chico's been a member for 14 months. I know you are. Wow. That is amazing. Thank you for being a member. You're awesome, Chico. Thank you for everything that you do for my channel. Doctor Who, Heather, I live in Colorado, have my whole life, and this story haunts me. But you know what, Doctor Who? It is not the first story in Colorado. This is like the second time that this has happened. Okay. We talked about a story that happened earlier last year where this mother and daughter funeral home director were body brokers. That's what they were doing, selling body parts and donating and giving without consent, forging signatures for the, money, shmoney. That's what they were doing. Okay. And people don't know. They don't know about what's going on. This story is just heinous. It's up there, truly. Pixie, thank you for being here. Christy B, thank you for being here. Shout out to you, Regina. Thank you, Perry. Everybody, thank you guys for being here. Oh my God. Leslie Ann, thank you. Vintage Mama, VT Kitty, thank you. Oh my God. Emily, people only gave rights in death if someone else honors that. It's a question to have. Do we lose our rights, y'all? Do we lose our rights when we die? Vintage Mama, thank you for gifting 10 memberships. You got us started. Oh my gosh. All right. Let's get it going, guys, because we got a lot to cover. So, let me give you guys a recap of this whole case. Last year in Colorado, Penrose, Colorado, a funeral home, Return to Nature is this funeral home that is had, I don't know, advertised to be like biodegradable, good for the earth, no chemicals, free involvement of chemicals. Like they literally put your body in the earth and you basically, go back to earth. They were using wicker baskets or wicker, caskets really to put bodies. At least that's how they were advertising, right? Well, in the area, especially if you know the area, it's surrounded by a lot of country roads, rural area, Penrose, Colorado. Um, the funeral home, and they had other locations, but this specific one is literally next to a post office. And it's not like right next door, but it's a couple of like maybe about an acre or so away from a post office. People started smelling something, and the stench was pretty horrific. They were smelling stuff. Something was going on at this funeral home. Complaints started to come, and so they decided to go check out what's going on at the funeral home. They did an inspection of what's going on, and what they found was what they had reported at the time was at least close to 200 bodies, unrefrigerated, exposed to the elements, unburied, couldn't identify who they were exactly. It was very, very, very concerning. The FBI had to get involved. The forensics folks got to get involved because they had to go back in there and identify body through teeth. So the people that were running this funeral home, they skedaddled. They said, hell no, we ain't picking up no charges. They went to a different state. They had to bring their asses back to Colorado. Sure did. And the FBI had to put a warning up on their website that basically said to try to figure out, like, help identify the rest of these victims, right? These people that hadn't been buried. So this funeral home was collecting money, through cremations, supposedly, or through burials, and they weren't delivering services. So they pocketed a lot of money. Um, the affidavit out of concern was sealed initially. Well, guess what? It's been unsealed. And they had to redact so much information from this affidavit. I'm talking about pictures. I'm talking about they were walking in and bodies on top of bodies on top of bodies. I'm talking about people who allegedly were cremated, whose cremains were given, they figured out was actually mixed in with concrete. So people have these urns and they don't even know like what's in the urn. Who's what's in the urn? And they found out that it was actually cement from like Home Depot. It's like amazing. These people were not paying their bills, were using that money to take flights. You're talking about going to buy jewelry at Tiffany and Company. Never had a jewelry piece from them. I'm like, wow, you guys really did that? Taking people's money and not delivering the services that they said they would deliver. That is some vile, foul stuff. It like the affidavit is about 49 pages. Okay? Now give me a second because I hear myself echoing. Here it is. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk about it. And those that again don't know, it's going to be a long trial. They have enough to move forward with the trial on this whole case, as they should.
A judge significantly lowered return to nature funeral home owner John Halford's bond this afternoon. And as he faces charges for improperly storing nearly 200 bodies, text messages reveal he knew what he was doing could lead to prison time. KRDO 13 investigator Quinn Ritzdorf is live outside the El Paso County Courthouse to explain what this means. Quinn.
Heather, earlier today, John Hallford arrived here at the El Paso County Courthouse in an orange jumpsuit. Now that his bond has been lowered from $2 million to $100,000, he could soon walk out of the El Paso County Jail and even out of that orange jumpsuit. Today, John Hallford's defense argued he couldn't afford the $2 million cash-only bond.
And by the way, this is about a month old, so this is giving an update and working our way to where we are present time, just so you guys know.
And that it violated his rights. The prosecution claims Hallford is a flight risk after being arrested in Oklahoma. The prosecutor read off text messages from Hallford's phone that show he knew he could be facing lengthy prison time.
If Penrose were to be exposed, we both lose everything anyway.
And the prosecution argues Hallford will do anything to avoid prison time, which Hallford essentially said in one of his text messages.
The defendant texted, "I don't give a f about this family. I'll give a f about what's happening in Penrose and not going to prison and getting the f out of this community."
However, El Paso County Judge William Moeller agreed to lower the bond and required Hallford to be on GPS monitoring.
I believe that the court can fashion.
See, this is the deal. This is the ish that gets to me. If a suspect, an accuser, whatever, the person that you're accusing, if they've already demonstrated, shout out to Mr. Poe in the chat, if they've already demonstrated to you that they're a flight risk, why are we lowering the bond? Like, y'all had to get him him and the wife, they had to haul ass from a different state. They brought him in. They said, no, come back. And he said he doesn't give an F about the community, about the family, about anything. So can y'all explain to me why? Because the health risk, the community risk, yeah, it is. I will give you that. I would think that it would be cheaper than to keep them locked up, but I'm sorry, like he didn't have respect for anybody's number one, anybody delivering anything, right? So why would he respect a GPS monitor? I just feel like it's a setup, probably because of the severity of the crimes. It's bad. It is like mishandling medical waste. Yes, and also, but we'll talk about those charges, okay? Because the charges are pretty severe. It's one thing to be charged with abuse of a corpse. They're talking about money laundering and theft and all kinds of stuff. But that's the piece that really gets to me. It just does. Yes, cheeks. Body brokering has been going on for a long time. Modern day body brokers seem unregulated. Yes. In Colorado specifically, You don't need to be a certified anything to, be a funeral home director. You don't need any of that. You know what I'm saying? Anybody can handle. Anybody can handle. I think it's a couple of courses, but you really don't need any kind of certification. And truly what it sounds like, even reading the affidavit, it sounds like the regulation agency doesn't actually supervise or review, other than the licensing piece. They don't really supervise or inspect the area. So they waited for like a smell to happen. It's been years, and people were giving cremains that, number one, weren't actual cremains. They were mixed in. Some people had urns with cement for like 4 or 5 years. That's crazy. Thank you. Yes, you don't. Not a funeral director. You don't need any kind of license. We looked into that.
Conditions of release on a lower bond that are sufficient to protect public safety and to preclude Mr. Hallford from fleeing the area.
After the decision, families left the courtroom crying and embracing each other.
190 victims. For him not to be held, it doesn't seem right.
Nope.
It's not fair.
John Hallford will only have to pay $10,000 of his $100,000 bond to be released from the El Paso County Jail. His preliminary hearing that was scheduled for today has been rescheduled for February. Reporting live outside the El Paso County Courthouse, Quinn Store for KRDO 13
That's
Investigates.
insane. Now, let me cancel this real quick and let's move on to another news outlet.
People have been wondering what went on inside this Penrose funeral home. A judge unsealed this arrest affidavit, which explains some of the evidence against John and Carrie Hallford. Prosecutors accused the couple of 190 counts of abusing corpses.
Sure did.
To prove that, they plan to use the Hallford's own surveillance footage. The affidavit says it shows John brought a body inside in the dark of night, and he flipped the deceased body off the gurney onto the floor. Another instance, a family paid the Hallfords to bury their loved one, a Vietnam veteran, yet law enforcement found his body, and inside his grave, a female's body.
Yep. So they're switching bodies, flipping bodies. All of that is in the affidavit. This is what I'm saying. There is no regulation. You guys, if you in Colorado, you gotta be careful, man. Because I'm telling you, your rights, you might think your family has rights. Sure. Okay. But who's to say? Who's to follow up? Once people are buried, they're buried. Or once they're cremated, they're cremated. You got to, and Jules, let me know if you need the whole document, because I do have the document here as well. The affidavit is literally just let me just say it's heavily redacted. Heavily.
The core of the case is that people paid the Hallfords to bury or cremate their loved ones. Prosecutors say they never did that, falsified death certificates, and pocketed the money, spending it instead on things like a $9,000 trip to Vegas, $3,400 worth of Tiffany's jewelry, and $8,500 on laser body sculpting.
Listen, I have never spent $9,000 at a trip to Vegas. Now, let me I've been to Vegas, but I have never I'm not living the good life apparently, because I mean even $3,400 on a Tiffany piece of jewelry. My wedding ring is the most expensive thing that I have. I'm just telling you. I'm like, my goodness, do people really get away with this shit? $8,500 on body laser sculpting. For who? Get out of here. It's a family business, you guys. You've never spent that much for anything, says Belinda. I'm telling you. Who spends $9,000? I don't know. Apparently, I have never. So I don't know.
It's beyond disgusting. Honestly, it just literally makes me sick to my stomach.
Tanya Wilson's mom died last summer. They spread her ashes in Hawaii, or so they thought. This fall, law enforcement found her body in the Penrose funeral home.
So here she is in Hawaii, spreading what she thinks is ashes And come to find out that her mother's body was one of the ones that was found in this funeral home. That's insane. Yeah, Poe says, wedding ring is tattooed on. I ain't spending money like that on jewelry. Oh my God, says Poe. I do, but like I seriously like, can you imagine all of that having to like, first of all, you're thinking that you went to Hawaii, you took the expense of that trip, number one, right? Because it's not cheap to fly to Hawaii. You're doing a ceremony or whatever to spread your mom's ashes, and then come to find out years later that your mother was one of the ones identified at this funeral home. Get out of here. When is this okay? And let me tell you something, why I'm just so like upset about it. This is not the first time that this has happened in Colorado. Like I've said earlier last year in January, a mother and a daughter family funeral home I believe it was in the Springs, Colorado Springs, don't get me, somewhere around that area. This is the same area, but I think it was further south. They were sentenced as well. But in their situation, they had been doing this for over 10 years, and they were actually donating body parts to various science study places, and the family did not consent. They were given other body parts. You know what I'm saying? They were testing people with HIV. They were giving away, like, it was just a mess. And that took years to uncover and then involve the FBI. Just be careful. As Confidence Chris would say, hell nah. Exactly. And it happened in Georgia too. But there's not a lot of regulation. This is why I ask you guys, what rights do people have after they die? Because you would be amazed to know that people don't. Who governs anything after you die? Your body. You may wish you want something, but is that truly happening? No. Yes, and they were doing testing on bodies of people who died of HIV. That's insane. Yeah, and that was the two women in Colorado too. They were donating bodies that were, you know, HIV, hepatitis, bodies that were ill, and giving it out to like medical institutions. And I don't know if they actually disclose any of that. You got to understand that this is a really dark business. And even though people think, well, it's only organ donation that people profit from. No, a dead body can bring you profit. Y'all understand that? A corpse can bring you, regardless of how the person died, people spend money on body parts. They do.
Tanya's glad people can read what happened to her mom and almost 200 other people.
I personally needed it for myself, for one, but I also thought that it was important for everybody else, the public, to fully understand the scope of these horrors.
9 News filed to have the affidavit unsealed in November. Victims we spoke with are glad a judge finally let people read the accusations. Aaron Adelson, 9 News.
That affidavit, all right,
Details tonight on those funeral homeowners.
Hold up. Here we go. Let's look at that affidavit now and get that affidavit up here, okay? Because it is, and I'm not going to read the whole affidavit. I'm just giving you guys, this is for the public. You guys can just Google search it. I'll tell you what to put on the Google search. Put Penrose Funeral Home criminal charges affidavit, and it immediately came up, okay? Truly, it just came up. It is right here. It is heavily redacted. It tells you it's redacted. So we have charges of 190 counts of abuse of a corpse, 1 count of F5 theft, and then 4 counts of F6, and this is all in the theft range. Money laundering, 4 counts, and 61 counts of forgery. Okay, and let me get little itty bitty. Okay, hold up. Okay, so in here, and I mean, you guys know that the affiant, they always have like his experience and whatnot, but I'm gonna just kind of skim through some of these interesting parts. He says that I submitted the following facts demonstrated probable cause to believe that on or about December 9th of 2023 and October 4th of 2023 with the acts of the violations in the county of El Paso in the state of District of Colorado, defendant John Hallford did commit the following offenses. And 190 counts, these are all people. All this information has been redacted. These were all the bodies that were found. Okay? Just so you guys know, look at this. And then it says on the side like crematory or cremation, and some sides are just blank, and some sides say like burial and burial cemetery. Okay? Look at that. All of that. It's just extensive. Okay? More names. More names. So he puts the counts and the amount, and the amounts, actually I was reading this a little bit more, and it had to do with 2 vehicles that somehow they were moving money to kind of offset certain things and offset people and whatnot. They were doing the most, okay, with these bank accounts and whatnot. The purchase of a car, 2 cars actually, purchase of a GMC Yukon wired from an ENT. This is all that wire fraud, money laundering part. Okay, a CarMax sale of a 2016 Infinity. All right, so you guys can see that, all public information. Ah, my goodness. And then they have the probable cause supportive facts, so it gives you all the definitions. Now, let me get right to the details of what is written. Okay, so hold up, here it is. The background of both Carrie Hallford and John Hallford, their backgrounds. Okay, the funeral home that started in 2017, owned by John and Carrie Hallford, which, by the way, I believe it was a family funeral home. I believe their dad might have been part of it as well, one of the fathers. But I don't think that they were charged, because they would come up in like the family pictures and stuff like that. Hold up, let's see. They had the title, the paperwork. The funeral home advertises cremation and burial. It had another business at 944 Elkton Drive in Colorado Springs. The businesses had previous other addresses. They have those addresses listed. The website, Instagram page, reviews on Google, and other online advertising presence. The affidavit will incorporate some information from the website. It says, our mission has always been green burial. A green burial is defined within the frequently asked questions. A return to the traditional way of burial. No chemicals, metals, or unalive or unnatural materials. Excuse me, just you and the earth returning to nature. Okay, and it's essentially a biodegradable casket, basket. That's all that's used. No embalming fluids, no concrete vaults. I mean, they were using concrete in the cremains. Okay, keep that in mind. But this is how they've advertised, all natural, all natural. Excuse me, clear my throat. So they received $150,000 for these services that were falsely promised. Okay. Let's see. And through the investigation, it suggests that they may have used cement or quick. Is it quickcrete? Is that how you say that? Or other concrete substances to families that were expected to receive a loved one's remains after an alleged cremation. Mm. Excuse me, I'm clearing my throat. Excuse me. It's a lot of locations that they're out there located at. And then they ran off to a different state when they were being when they were searching to pick them up with a warrant and whatnot. Keep that in mind. So now that their bond has been lowered, or not lowered, I'm sorry, it's been reduced. It makes you wonder, are they truly a risk to just leave, given that they have left before to avoid arrest? I don't know. So, let's see. An individual applies for a funeral home license by submitting an application and a fee to the state of Colorado. Part of the regulations require licensed funeral homes to cooperate with investigations and inspections initiated by the director of DORA. To acknowledge, or to my knowledge, DORA did not conduct an inspection. See what I'm saying? They did not conduct an inspection of the Return to Nature funeral home during the period of operation. I'm aware that in 2020, the Fremont County coroner made DORA aware of suspicions about the poor treatment of human bodies and improper refrigeration at one of the locations. So I could be a funeral home director, I think. Let me see. It says that all I need to do, based on this affidavit, is apply and submit an application for a fee. All everybody here can probably be funeral home directors, right? That's what we can do. And then they don't even come and inspect. I mean, you could really be storing bodies in different locations and nobody's really checking up. My understanding? I mean, let me know. Yes. Something like this, natural burial, is harder to do in acres and offering individual graves. I would agree with you on that. You said no thanks. I slept with a guy who once lived above a funeral home. Really? So you live in Canyon City, Colorado, and I drove by this funeral home several times, and it just looked like an abandoned building. I don't know. You said no, rabbit? I'm just saying, like, all of this is so suspect. So even the investigator saying, like, I came in there. The last time there might have been an investigation, there was a report in 2020, but Dora didn't really come and check. So keep that in mind. A search of DORA licensing database revealed that Return to Home Funeral originally was issued in the funeral license in 2017. They put the license number information. John Howell had been registered, what is it, since February of 2021. February 16th of 2021. According to Colorado law, funeral homes or funeral establishments shall embalm, refrigerate, cremate, or bury human remains within 24 hours after taking custody of the remains. So my question is this: how do they go from this to then getting all of these death certificates? Because then it says in here, a Colorado death certificate contains significant amount of information about a deceased individual. This information includes, but is not limited to, their names, dates, social dates, time, age of death, manner of death, funeral home, and then a list of death certificates that were issued listing Return to Nature Funeral Home from Colorado Department of Public Health was obtained during the investigation between the dates of November of 2017 to 2023, August of 2023, where approximately 1,178 death certificates were issued. There were also death certificate issues by Return to Home, Return to not home, Return to Nature Burial and Cremation, Return to Nature Funeral Home in Penrose, and Return to Nature Funeral Services. So the certifier county of 1,022 of the death certificates issued by Return to Nature Funeral Home was El Paso County. The place of death county of 1,042 individuals was El Paso County. So the method of disposal of body is also listed on the death certificates. Okay, so they have listed burial 88, cremations 1,085, donations 2, removal from state 3, 1,178. The number of cremations was further broken down by which crematory did the cremation for return to home. The data revealed the following: Roseland Crematory 510, Wilbert Crematory 396, Affordable Crematory 168, and Romero Crematories 11. Based on the foregoing, I submitted the primary method of disposition for Return to Nature Funeral Home was listed as cremation. To my knowledge, John and Carrie Hallford did not own a crematory and acted as intermediate can't read or resellers of the cremains, okay, of services. So they acted like the in between from where their establishment is at to, like, say, Roseland crematory, right? And I submitted that because Return to Nature did not conduct some of their businesses properly. It supports that John and Carrie knew how a funeral home business was supposed to run. Return to Nature Funeral Home did not cremate, arrange to cremate, properly store, or submit accurate information for the death certificates of hundreds purported individuals. Furthermore, I cannot tell this court that the records of those who was cremated at which crematory was accurate. I'm confused by that statement. So does that mean, and give me 1 second, I got somebody at my door. Does that mean that, like, if they handed the body over to the crematory, right? If they're that in between, does that mean that there was no checks and balances there? Like, did the crematory say, did they report that they gave the body to, say, like Woodland, right? And did they actually not receive the body? Is that what that is? You see, that's confusing to me. It does, Team Maker. It happens more often than you think. One funeral home had stacks of body in their funeral home and the owner's personal house. Absolutely. Lori says, question, would the fact that they have received social security burial benefits be a federal crime? I don't know. That's a great question. See, Lori, and then how does that affect the people receiving the benefits too, right? But that's my question, is like, see, Crayon Chameleon says, from my understanding, the owner worked from a building in Colorado Springs, and this was their building. They haven't worked out as a funeral home for at least a couple of years. So, okay, so this is my understanding of how they're collecting this data. They're saying that the affiant is saying, all right, this is what they reported to the, I don't know, death certificates, county people, right? They went back and they collected to see if the bodies that they currently have match those of the death certificates, right? Like, just to see one or the two. And so then what they did is they went over to this third party who was supposed to do the remains. Did they actually bury somebody? Like, wasn't there another checks and balance to this, or is it just yeah, I have a body here. Can you take it? Sure. They take it and there's like a checkbox, a signature. Like, how do you verify that if you're not actually cremating a person at this funeral home, that the third party is actually burying them or cremating them? That's the piece that doesn't quite make sense to me. Where are the checks and balances? Because that's confusing. Even this breakdown is completely confusing to me, but hey, I don't know. So, and then it says that the Return to Nature caused false death certificates to be issued and reported that people were cremated when they were not. However, I have also obtained independent records from 2 different crematories that indicate on multiple occasions on specific person was cremated. Investigators are in possession of each of those specific bodies. Oh my God. So they were like double dipping on the information? So are they saying that, like, they told one place that they're cremated, and then the other place that they're not cremated, but they weren't actually cremated, they were found at this place? That is crazy. Okay, Perry says the family would have had to sign the Social Security over to the funeral home. It comes to the survivors first. Not all homes accept SSS payments because of this. Thank you, Perry. See what I'm saying? It just doesn't make sense. So they were telling people that they were buried or they were cremated when they actually weren't, and they were calling multiple places, and then they found their bodies out here? Mm, that's what I'm thinking too, Rabbit. These bodies had families, and some families had come forward because they received cremated remains, but the body was later found there. So the families that came forward and said, listen, I got my loved one was cremated at Return to Nature, but we know that Return to Nature doesn't cremate, or they haven't. They're taking it to a third party I hate to say it, but vendor or whatever, if that's the word, to get cremated, but they're not actually really taking the body there. They've been stacking the bodies were in their place while giving cement remains or what looks to be like remains to a family member in this urn for many, many years. That's insane. And how isn't there no more checks and balances to this? Even in my mind, I'm so lost by this process. That is insane. Oh my God. So here it says that Return to Nature caused false death certificates to be issued and reported that people were cremated when they were actually not. However, I've also obtained independent records, we just read that, from 2 different crematories that indicate multiple occasions on specific person was cremated. Investigators are in possession of each of the specific bodies. I have no reason to doubt the records from the crematory that a cremation did occur, and I submitted that in at least 4 occasions the wrong bodies were likely cremated. So they don't even know what bodies were actually cremated. Get the hell out of here. Oh my God. So investigators obtained additional information from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment related to the process of generating a death certificate. Okay, good. See, this is the part that really screws me up in the way this works. This process is significant and it supports the counts of forgery in violation of CRS 185102. Okay, so the state of Colorado uses the Electronic Death Registry, the EDR, a secure internet site that allows for funeral establishments, physicians, and coroner's office to complete, sign, and register death records. Okay, the system is paperless, so there are no forms to complete, fax, or email. The system may be accessed from any device at any location that has internet access. The system is also relating information to the Social Security Administration and with the Center for Diseases and Control and Prevention software. This allows real-time verification of the decedent's Social Security number as well as real-time review of cause of death data. Okay. So a funeral home, coroner's office, or physician's office can all have a role within the death certificate process. Medical certifications must be made on the death certificate. The funeral home is responsible for completing several fields of the information on the Colorado death certificate, including the name, date, and birth, date of death, and social security number. The funeral home is also responsible for returning the method of disposition and place of disposition. As discussed above, Return to Nature Funeral Home reported the majority of the decedents are cremated. The funeral home is also responsible for correcting any errors made on their behalf. Oh my God. So they were misinforming the system as well. So medical offices, possibly hospitals, right? Clearly, coroner's offices. What else? Other people have access to this information. Funeral home directors, that all you need is a license, and you pay a fee. You don't really need a whole lot of accreditation behind that, right? They can submit the information. So that would have been an easy way to fraudulently report how somebody died, right? Or even like what you did with somebody's remains. No. So if I'm a body broker, just say I'm not, but let's just say that I am. And I'm running a funeral home and I said, okay, Susie Q who died, I'm going to report her as cremated at Rabbit Funeral Home. I'm just thinking out loud, right? I could do that. I have access to it. I have a license. Everybody is going to be able to do that. And that's it. You check the box. that reports to the Social Security office, that reports to the state registry, that reports everywhere. Everybody knows what happened to Susie Q because I reported it and we're good. Meanwhile, Susie Q is in Rabbit's funeral home on top of other people, right? I get paid. I'll figure out what to do with Susie Q at some point. I could probably contact some other, person that wants to do a science fair on dead bodies. I could do that. And I could tell the family, well, you signed this paperwork that basically says you're allowing me to be responsible for your loved one, Susie Q. And they move on. They get their earn, right? And they go about that. And that's it. You mean to tell me that this is how they self-report and there's no checks and balances in this shit and we're surprised that something like this is happening? I'm done. I'm done. I don't know what else to say. Don't die in Colorado. That's for sure. That's crazy. Not you said, Nancy, not in Canada? Yes, it really hurts also the small local communities around them because everyone who has a loved one and went through this place is now reliving this grief and fear of what happened. Okay. Rabbit says, I'm 71 and made plans already and carry a card in my wallet to where they are to send me. I asked the funeral home the questions that I wanted to know. Okay. But this is just scary. I just hope, Rabbit, I hope it's not you in Colorado, because clearly this is scary. Right. Oh my. It is harder to sell hot dogs on a cart than it is for bodies. This is scary. I don't know how else to put it. Like, this is just scary. Seriously. Flower Power says, Rabbit, when my husband was cremated, I made sure that I had a family member there for the cremation. Okay. And they were able to walk into the cremation chamber to verify it was my husband. Okay. So they're able to verify. There's got to be more checks and balances, though. Like, even in the system that's being entered, because this is just the way this affiant or this detective is explaining this doesn't quite make sense. I'm just like, well, I can see where the room of somebody fraudulently, and who knows how many other people are doing this, and we don't even know. So if we're just holding on to the funeral home to do this. So the funeral establishments completes a training on how to EDR website, how the website is used. On May 1st of 2019, Carrie completed the Colorado EDR for funeral establishments online training with a 100% score. I'm sure the hell she did. The Colorado death certificate is a written instrument, field, or required by law to be filed or legally fillable, in with a public office. A person falsely completes an instrument when he or she adds or inserts material false information or materially false statements into any instrument, genuine or non-genuine, thereby purporting to complete the instrument as to render it legally operative. Wow. So, summary of the investigation, here we go. Okay, here it is. So, informed detective, is it Joliffe? That on October 1st, 2023, she went into a former funeral home located at 31 Road on Penrose, Colorado. Friend told her of a horrible smell coming from the building on the property. Informed Detective Sergeant that she had worked in the hospice and a funeral home, according to blank. It's all redacted. She could smell what she recognized human decomposition coming from the building. On Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023, the detective and Fremont Chief Deputy Coroner Laura Allen went into the location and also noticed an overwhelming odor of decomposition coming from the building. The windows of the building were covered in a manner that concealed the interior. The FCSO had prior complaints regarding the odor coming from the building, but they were not investigated because the building was a funeral home. What? A sign on the front door stated "Return to Nature Funeral Home." The sign further indicated funeral director was available 24 hours a day and a phone number was listed. The sergeant attempted to call the number, but it was disconnected. Oh my God, they tried calling the number and it was disconnected. Get out of here. It's a very unique smell, right, Kyle? Kyle's like, it's a unique smell, all right. Yes, it is. So, the sign stated that the funeral home business hours were between 9 to 4, Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday by appointment. To the left of the front door was a sign that stated, "Due to COVID-19 closures to the public, this is our mortuary only. All funeral home operations out of Colorado Springs location, contact us." They gave a different number. A dark stain was protruding from the bottom of the front door. The stain went along the bottom of the door frame and onto the concrete slab. In other areas, the stain had started to travel in the exterior stucco. Oh my God. The detective and the deputy both agreed that the stain was consistent with fluids they had previously observed during prior investigation involving decomposing human bodies. Oh my God. Get out of here. Okay. All right. All right, so the detective sergeant reported that on the back side of the building was a small window mounted air conditioner that was working. Well, okay. Detectives reported 2 vehicles on the property. The registration of the vehicles were expired and were registered to either John or return to home. Excuse me, return to nature. Why do I keep saying return to home? I'm sorry. Return to nature. So the Fremont deputy coroner contacted Colorado Department of contacted Thora and explained the observations made at the address. The deputy coroner Allen was told by a representative from Dora that the owner, John, returned to Nature Funeral Home, agreed to meet an inspector at 31, the same location, to allow the inspectors to access the inside of the building for inspection. The owner told Thora that he was using the building in Penrose to learn how to do taxidermy and that he knew he had a problem there. Wait a minute. Taxidermy is with animals, right? We had talked about this before. So he was telling them that they did taxidermy at the building too, in addition to a funeral home. So an appointment between Dora and the owner was set. They did the appointment. He failed to show up for the appointment. Inspector Joseph Berry conducted an exterior inspection and was able to see the inside of the building via a small opening in the window cover. Upon looking onto the building, several white plastic bags were laying on the floor. Deputy Coroner Allen stated the bags consisted with body bags that she had used in her career. Oh my God. So the execution of a search warrant began, okay, on October 5th. The detective sergeant applied for and was granted 2 state of Colorado search warrants. Okay, so the summary of the warrants were authorized by the magistrate. In summary, the initial warrant was executed and investigators determined additional hazardous material team were needed to continue the search. The second warrant authorized the continued search on the property. All right. During the search warrant, investigators drew a diagram of the building and labeled the rooms with unique letters. I don't think you guys can see this here, and the image is really bad, but you can actually see the diagram that they drew out. Okay? So during the execution of the search warrant, 115 body bags were originally observed in different stages of decomposition. Some bodies contained in what appeared to be disposable body bags. Some were in body bags used by local coroners, and some of the body bags were wrapped in sheets and then duct taped. Some bodies were exposed with no covering at all or partially covered, and some bodies were on gurneys, and some were just laying on the floor or stacked on top of other bodies. Get out of here. 115 bodies. Like, how big is this even location? Oh, Lisa, I would feel bad. Like, that would require, you would have to think the medical, like, I cannot. Shout out to you. Oh, shout out to everybody from Pueblo. This is close to your area, isn't it, Jalapeno? Oh my gosh. So here we go. The decomposition of the bodies can produce various fluids. Hold up. I'm sorry. Investigators also located personal artifacts, presumably given to return to nature by family members with the intention of the artifacts being buried or placed with the remains. Decomposition of the human body can produce various fluids. These fluids cover the floor within the building. Maggots, flies, and other insects in various stages of lives were vastly present in the building. In some areas, these insects covered the floor and were on many of the bodies. Oh my God. In many of the clear plastic bags, oh, hold up. Let me think of this. Because I would imagine that this would just be a horrific scene to see. Decomposition fluid had filled the bags and caused the bags to break, subsequently spilling human decomposition on the floor. 5 gallons of red and orange plastic buckets from Harbor Freight and Home Depot were in the building. In some instances, the buckets were placed below the bodies to collect the leaking decomposition fluid. The condition of the floor presented a slip hazard for the team that ultimately removed the bodies. Okay, so they redacted the photos. There were photos here, you guys. I cannot. Several areas of the building were initially inaccessible due to the bodies being stacked too high. The building did have 3 labels, C&L refrigerators, although none of them appeared to be working properly. In room G, refrigerator L, the door was completely open and bodies were stacked in front of it. In room B, refrigerator C was powered by an exterior window type air conditioner unit that was running, but the door was also open. The refrigerator appeared to be homemade. The overall temperature of the exterior space was approximately 70 degrees according to the thermostat on the walls. Oh my God. So during the search warrant, investigators located evidence of presence of chemicals, Raid brand bug bombs, large arm and hammer branding baking soda containers, and Febreze containers. What they were trying to do? They were trying to Febreze the smell of death? Get out of here. Oh my God. Hey, Miss Mary Lee, shout out to you. Oh my God. I'm telling you, you got to respect the dead. You don't do stuff like this to the, I mean, at least where I come from, you just don't. You respect the dead. Okay? You truly do. I cannot. No, they got the Febreze. You can't that's like, look, let me give you guys an example. Have y'all ever seen somebody with like bad BO? And clearly this is separate. But you know how somebody who doesn't showers with like, oh my God, I had a roommate. Let me stop right here. Oh Lord, I do not miss those dormitory days. Let me stop. I had a roommate that would not shower, bad BO, and they would shower maybe once or twice during the week, and they would shower themselves with like Victoria's Secret love spell. No. Now, this is like, clearly this is 10 times worse. But this yes, they have. You can't Febreze. Thank you. You cannot. You cannot Febreze the smell of death. You, it just, Pika, it just reminded me of the time, like I had a really, let me stop. Story time, let me stop. I had a roommate who would use love spell to try to cover bad BO. You don't do that. You gotta take a shower. You know, gotta take a shower. Yeah, needless to say, that's just you just gotta take a shower, yo. Hey, Nona Boss, shout out to you. Thank you for being here. You said the only way that they are obviously going to prosecute will be the matter that these two don't. That's the only way. That's the only way, right? No way. Just be like. Now I'm talking about somebody with bad BO. This is death. You cannot Febreze that smell, you guys. What were they thinking? I mean, okay. Oh my God. Oh, am I really gonna read this next part? All right, here we go. A large bone grinder was present on room A. In room A, next to the bone grinder was a black and gray bag of quickcrete, which is the concrete mix resurfacer. An empty bag of quickcrete was also located in a container with other trash. I submitted that the concrete mix and possible some other substances was used to fill urns and subsequently given to the deceased individual families. Oh my God. It appeared that in one of the rooms, Return to Nature was experimenting with water cremation. Water cremation, also known as alkaline hydrolysis, is a process to dispose of human remains in which pressure, heat, water, and potassium hydroxide is used to dissolve a body in approximately 4 to 6 hours. The process produces a fatty waste product and the remaining bones. Oh my God. Okay, redacted review of room A, decomposition fluid, bone grinder, and multiple bodies and the concrete bag. 40 bodies stacked on top of each other. I'm letting you guys know that they redacted these photos. Okay? They redacted these photos. Seriously. Look at this. More redactions. Expose corpse head stacked with other bodies within operative refrigerator with insects on the table. Get out of here. Look at, you can see the redaction. Oh my gosh, the bodies within the refrigerator and okay. So members of the FBI, the National Force, Air Force, National Guard, El Paso County Coroners, El Paso County Hazmat, Fremont County, CBI, and other agencies contributed to the proper and safe removal of approximately 184 body bags from the building. These personnel experienced physical and emotional duress during the process of removing the body, I bet, while wearing special protective suits. Multiple layers of gloves, respirators, and protections and protective boots. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine being in these working conditions? I don't think I could do it. God bless them. I don't think I could do it. Hazmat suit and everything, I could never do that kind of work. That is insane. I could never do that kind of work. Just imagine. At the time of this affidavit, investigators believe 189 bodies were recovered from the address. The court should take note that both infant and fetus and adult bodies were located. The process to identify the bodies will be discussed below in more detail. But investigators found multiple remains in many of the same bags, making the above mentioned count of 184 bags as a misleading representation of the total bodies within the building. Oh my God, no, 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 no. Okay, so this just gives us a little breakdown of the bodies that were recovered. Oh my God. Here's an example. Although I will only reference 6 bodies to this section of the affidavit, I have no reason to believe that any of the bodies recovered would yield a different result. I submit the below individuals are a fair and accurate sample as it relates to the entirety. For example, body A1 was identified as blank, who died blank. The death certificate listed blank. Method of disposal as cremation, and the place of disposal at Wilbert cremation. Okay. I hold up. So they seized video surveillance. At least 4 video surveillance cameras were located while reviewing photos taken during the search warrant execution. One of the cameras was located in the interior within room A. One was located to the exterior above the front door, and 2 were covering the rear and side areas of the building. I've included a photo A picture and camera above to illustrate the viewpoint, which that's redacted. We can't see that. So, mm, okay, so get this. It says investigators were able to extract data from devices. So they did that. They on an early morning of September 9th, 2023, right around the time that they were getting caught up, a WV minivan was captured. I think it's a Volkswagen minivan was captured in the exterior surveillance camera. Investigators believe that Carrie stayed outside the building and acted as a lookout while John was inside the building. As will be discussed below in more detail, cell phone associated with Carrie had location data of the address. So hold up, let's go down a little bit more. Oh my gosh, this is just horrific. So here it is. The interior camera, which captured some of the rooms investigators labeled as A, show multiple deceased human bodies in the room, including a body on a gurney that was not covered and still had hospital socks and a diaper on. The body had already begun to decompose. Based on the combined interior and exterior footage on September 9th of 2023, Halford needed the gurney to bring the bodies in the building from the Volkswagen van. Hallford flipped the deceased body off the gurney onto the floor using a sheet that was beneath the body. After the body had been dumped on the floor, Halford appeared to wipe the remaining decomposition from the gurney onto the body in the room. The exterior camera also captured Halford bringing several white bags containing deceased bodies in the room. When combed with the exterior camera view, the bodies likely came from the Volkswagen van and were transported on the gurney. Halford looked from room A. Oh my God, they got him on camera too, you guys. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. No, 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 no. Hold up. This is just, it is a lot. There's a picture of him. This is what he looks like on his driver's license. So they were reviewing the business documents. I'm just trying to skim through. This is a lot of information. You guys, this is again available publicly. Let me see if I can drop the link so you guys can review it as well. This is a PDF available publicly for everybody to review. This is insane. Now, this just leads me to ask you guys the question is, do y'all know what's going on in your guys' funeral homes? He self-snitched. Well, I mean, that right there was too much. Now, pay attention to the location. This isn't like they're right next door to somebody. The smell was becoming, you guys, that's not, okay, so then they went to court, all right? Pay attention. This was just recent.
I got John. I got my son back off 74 pounds of his 180-pound body.
Did that guy really fall? Oh my God.
Almost half of my child back. Where's Heather's child? Where's my son? Where are their husbands and fathers? Where are the mothers and grandmothers? The ones that aren't found in the building. Were those washed down the drain? Water cremation your thing? Maybe other land somewhere? We're not going to stop, John. We got you, buddy. You think you can victimize almost 1,200 people in this community and get away with it?
This
You
guy
met the
deserves
wrong mother.
to be under the jail.
You can't even face a family. Look at my son. You can't face me. Look at my son. Look at my son. This is my son. What did you do with my son? What did you do with my son? This is my son. What did you do with him? Where is he?
Oh my goodness.
1,176 more of us, John. And you get to face every single one of us. Every one of us for the rest of your life. Every breath you take. I hope you remember rats eating my son's face in your refrigeration system.
Oh my God.
We want answers. 1,178 people want answers, John. We only have 190 bodies. Where are the rest of them, buddy? We're not going to stop. You think we're ever going to stop asking questions? Not going to happen, John.
Woo-wee. That's right. That's right. Answer. Oh my God.
Come on, Don. We're only 4 feet behind you. You can't turn around and answer questions. You can't tell this woman where her dead son is.
Yeah.
You can't tell me where the other 104 pounds of my rotting child went. Did the rats eat him? Did you flush him down the drain and then change
Oh my
your mind?
God.
What was it, John? Do we have to start digging up grave sites with spoons? Come on, man. You're right here. Talk to the camera. You're right here, John.
This guy is, oh my
Questions.
gosh.
One couple.
Where's my son? I mean, I would be asking the same question. Where's my son? Like, Lord have mercy, to think you thought you buried or cremated your child or your relative or your loved one, whatever it may be. And then you're having to relive this again and come to find out that they just, like, this is what they did. This is why I tell you guys, like, do we really know what happens? No, because the regulation isn't quite there. It's listed on the affidavit. You guys read it. You will see. There's some things that are totally open for things to become fraudulent, for things to, people to do things. Even the system that they're checking stuff on, anybody could put anything in there. We don't know. We don't know. And they got away with it for how many years? This has been happening for so many years. It happened earlier last year. Anyways, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about this whole story. We'll continue to follow it. I honestly think that this couple, they need to be under the jail, okay? Because you just don't do that to people. You don't hurt people like that, and over money. No, this is crazy, crazy, crazy. I will see you guys on the next one. Make sure you're hitting the like button. I'll talk to you guys later. Rabbits out.